every paragraph depicts a real moment in someone's life. A father, a sister, a mother, a brother. We at Newsday are dedicated to you, the people, and through independent, unwavering journalism, strive to always bring your stories to life, because your stories are more than just words. Newsday, independent and credible.
The 2022 Chutney Soca Monarch. 15 of the top Chutney Soca artists in the world. 5 for the 2 biggest titles in Chutney Soca. Will G.I. retain his crown? Will Nisha reign in 2022 as a Queen of Chutney Soca? Special opening performance by the world's greatest Chutney Soca artist, Ravi B, and his full band Karma, featuring Nisha B and Abishai and the Kalnayak Dance Academy. Hosted by our very own non-news anchor, Kenneth Supersad, and Big Rich Dipungalungs. All artists backed up by Rizzy and Avatar. Saturday, 26 February, we feature one of the biggest productions in Trinidad and Tobago's Taste of Carnival. Limited tickets will be observed, and all patrons must show proof of vaccination. Call us at 6. WhatsApp your ticket reservations at 789-3874 or send us an email at southexevents@gmail.com. The 2022 Chutney Soca Monarch is sponsored by TSTT, Extra Foods, Stand Steel, Tropicus Beach Resort, U97, TTT, Whito, Magnum, and the Ministry of Tourism, Culture and the Arts.
Boardroom Lounge and Nightclub presents Fantastic Friday. This Carnival Friday, 25th February. Entertainment by Malik, Iowa George, and Nisha B. Admission is free from 7 p.m. till Feb all night this Carnival Friday at Boardroom Lounge and Nightclub, SS Erin Road, Debe.
Le Grand Coulon Spa Resort at Stonehaven Bay, Blackrock. Bed and breakfast rates available. To book, call 283-2597 or 463-2946. Le Grand Coulon Spa Resort at Stonehaven Bay, Blackrock. Island Hobbies, Ryson Road, Port of Spain has the largest variety of toys in the Caribbean and South America. No one can beat our prices. If you see it cheaper anywhere else, prove it and we will beat it. Island Hobbies, Ryson Road, Port of Spain.
Fresh Street Market, your neighborhood supermarket.
Number 3 Andrew Lane, corner Churchill Roosevelt Highway and Andrew Lane, Derby, Mausica.
Opening hours:
Saturday 7:30 a.m. to 7:30 p.m.
Sundays 8 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. When you think about fresh produce and good quality food, come to Fresh Street Market, your neighborhood supermarket.
Number 3 Andrew Lane, corner Churchill Roosevelt Highway and Andrew Lane, Derby, Mausica.
Come to the Waves Restaurant and Bar, Grafton Beach, Blackrock, Tobago. Great ambience, fantastic prices, all COVID protocols observed. Full premium bar available. Call Waves at 731-4646 to make your reservation. Come dine with the Waves Restaurant and Bar, Grafton Beach, Blackrock, Tobago. You must be vaccinated to dine in.
Eddie's Pharmacy Limited, we have a selection of all pharmaceutical products and over-the-counter drugs to complement your wellness. Every product we carry is vetted and approved by our pharmacists who will be happy to assist you. With branches at C3 Mall inside JTA Supermarket, 1135 SS Erin Road in Pinal, and 54 Rocha Douglas Road in Barrackpore. We offer services such as blood pressure testing, blood sugar testing, cholesterol testing, and also offer a wide variety of pregnancy test kits. We accept most major health insurances. For further information, contact Eddie's Pharmacy at any of our 3 branches. C3 Mall, contact number 228-4990, 54 Rocha Douglas Road in Barrackpore at 654-2655. Or SS Erin Road in Pinal, 647-0778, Eddie's Pharmacy Limited.
Marsha Walker. Join me on U975, Hot Like Pepper, and Douglar Radio every Friday for Fire Friday. every Friday when we, the UNC Women, bring the heat. 6:15 p.m. every Friday. UNC Women, bringing the heat with Marsha Walker. Fire Friday! 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 Fire Friday!
Friday, man, shop the place. Friday, in front of face. Friday, red, white, and black. Friday, I'm back. Friday, 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 Friday,
Fire Friday!
Thank God it is Friday. Thank God it is Friday, Friday. Thank God it is Friday. Friday, man, shop the place. Friday, in front of face. Friday, red, white, and black. Friday, I'm back. Thank God it is Friday. Thank God it is Friday, Friday. Thank God it is Friday.
Fire Friday!
My parents' generation grew up with Royal Castle. From the first restaurant in 1968, when that distinctive, tempting aroma hit the air, they just couldn't resist. And like never before, fried chicken with a special blend of local seasonings and a one-of-a-kind flavor down to the bone. Today, Royal Castle still have that same delicious taste, and I love it too. The kids can't resist it either. Plus, they have more to enjoy. For me, the castle is more than just nice food. It's we own, part of me and you, and is the real flavor of TNT.
Fire Friday!
Friday, man, shop the place. Friday, in front of face. Friday, red, white, and black. Friday, I'm back. Friday, 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 Friday,
Fire Friday!
Thank God it is Friday. Thank God it is Friday, Friday. Thank God it is Friday. Friday, man, shop the place. Friday, in front of face. Friday, red, white, and black. Friday, I'm back. Thank God it is Friday. Thank God it is Friday, Friday. Thank God it is Friday.
Fire Friday!
My number one DJ, number one song boy, number one selector.
Hello! You tell me Mike on as about to send a message to Archie. Archie, how are you? Archie tell me go mash them up, so I tell him thank you. You all know who's Archie? Everybody's supposed to know who's Archie. You know who's Archie, Cocky? Listen, we cannot do what we do without you guys behind the scenes. So I want to big up Alan, Archie, Vishnu.
I know Vishnu.
You know Vishnu. Well, Archie is the man behind the scenes.
I never seen Archie. What does he look like?
You good looking. You good looking. You know, the first thing you say when I bring my guests on is they good
I
looking.
wouldn't say a man is good looking. He's good looking for you.
Well, he could be good looking. You could watch a guy and recognize whether he handsome or not.
No, I don't ever say men.
You are being ridiculous,
good
Coco.
looking. No, I don't.
You're
do
being
that.
ridiculous.
I would say
Stop
a
it.
girl is good looking.
Stop it. But you can admit whether a guy is handsome or not, Cocky.
No, I don't.
Oh my goodness.
I don't do like that.
Why not?
I don't do
There
like
is nothing
men
wrong
good
with
looking.
there is nothing wrong with watching a good-looking man and just accepting that
No, I won't.
he's good looking. Anyways,
Yes. Okay.
so we were supposed to have the Prime Minister speak. I feel he's scared, Cocky, to speak the same time I on radio.
What is he scared about?
Well, because I'm on radio at the same time. How he go have a press conference the same time I having my radio show? He crazy? First place, he should have never scheduled one at the same time that I will be on. The real MP for Diego Martin is on air. How he gonna try to be on air the same time, Cocky?
I want to know.
So anyway, so he's cancelled it because apparently he is stuck in St. Lucia indefinitely. I would like it to be permanently, but that is just my opinion. You know, I mean, others, there are 300,000 who may want him. I feel the 300,000, to be honest, is no longer 300,000.
How did he get stuck there?
His flight.
Oh.
His flight is delayed indefinitely.
Okay.
But, you know, whether we believe it or not is a different story. You know, I do not believe anything that comes out of Keith Christopher Rowley's mouth, to be honest. I don't believe anything.
Why?
Cook, you're drinking juice, I hope you don't mind.
You can drink whatever you like.
I drink my juice, but I'm not minding my own business. Because I believe it's all my business. Because anything that happens with you will eventually impact me. You know, that is what I try to get our citizens to understand. So anyways, let's come off of this flight. Although, I mean, as I say, I just push and talk here that, maybe he stayed in St. Lucia because, I don't know.
Fed up at Trinidad.
Well, he trying to get away from doing work. If he not golfing, he in some shop, in some parlor,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? And we have work to do. But what I find unacceptable, do you know, there's a little something going on. I'm downplaying it, but there's a little something going on between Russia and Ukraine at the moment, right?
Oh my gosh.
And
yeah.
I'm saying Ukraine, right? The Ukraine leader took a selfie and spoke to his country. What we need to understand is that you don't always need to be in a three-piece suit. Well, clearly Keith Rowley understands that because the picture he put up looking all frumpy while speaking in Qatar was just disgusting to me. But anyways, I move on. The country, I think, is at a state. We need to hear from our leader. Okay, we're not being invaded by Russia, but we are certainly being invaded by crime, by everything.
Oh yes.
Right? And our Prime Minister continues to be absent. You do not need, first begin, you was coming right off of the airport, and to have this conference, right? You could have done it in Qatar. You could have done it. And you know what you do? You could do it in St. Lucia, right? There's every which way. There's always an excuse for the delay in him doing something.
Yeah.
And that is at the end of the day, that is the problem. That is the root of the problem with the leadership, is always something.
So he's always making excuses.
He always blaming somebody. So now is your flight delayed. So that's why you can't keep your commitment to the country to have a press conference, right? It's always something. And it's just unacceptable. Take your phone, as I said. You saw the Ukraine leader step up. He took a little phone, a selfie, and he addressed. But there was such content that he didn't need the theater. He didn't need the gimmicks. He didn't need all of that. Because there was good content. There was a leader who was passionate, who was genuine. His words motivated his people. And so he didn't need much. He didn't need all the theater. And that's the whole thing. We fall for all this P&M theater, if you ask me. Anyways, I want to address something. And it may take long because it's so many things to come out of that one incident. Right? Not last week. I think it was the week before that. The young man who was shot, 14-year-old.
Yes.
Right? And I spoke about it. It was from the Prime Minister's constituency.
Did he die?
He did.
My
He
gosh.
did, yes. He was shot. And people say, well, they may have come for his cousin or whatever. But, I spoke about his death and, of course, the silence of the Prime Minister, etc. and whatnot. Now, of course, we have another lady who died in the constituency yesterday.
Yes.
And once again, the Prime Minister is silent, and this is his MP. He's the MP. So while everybody else sees him as the Prime Minister, I see him as the MP for Diego Martin, right? Diego Martin West. And he has a responsibility as an MP for Diego Martin West to show up. Now, what is unfortunate, there's so much, as I said, that is coming out of this shooting, right? There's a division. And obviously, this is nothing new, right? I could read an article. I spoke about Albert Gomes last week, where it's really sad that he has disappeared from our nation's history. He's not in any social studies books. Yet he was the one that really fought and laid the groundwork for our independence. He's the one that fought. And what I like in particular about Albert Gomes, because it is easier. The fight is never easy, but it is easier when you are fighting for something that directly impacts you. So if you are fighting, you know, so everybody gets up in arms with crime because crime has reached their doorstep. But what happened when crime was not at your doorstep? Right? And, you know, there's this famous saying, you know, they came for this one and you know, well, we ignored them and they asked for help and we didn't step in. And then eventually they'll come for you. Right? And that's why we are supposed to fight injustice everywhere, not just the ones that bother us. Right? And so, that's why I liked Albert Gomes, because he was what you'd call a white person, right? You know, Trinidad is called anybody. You kind of have it in black, red, and white in Trinidad, right? And, well, I guess that's the color of our flag, so maybe that's where we get this race, this split from. But anyway, he was what you would call white in Trinidad. So there was no need for him to fight, and I'm going to you know, the African community or whatever. And, but he did. He was the one that fought for the Shouter Baptist, you know, we were still at a time where obviously we were under British rule and there was still a lot of injustice. I mean, there still is, but, you know, simple things like that, freedom of religion, etc., was not there. And he fought for it.
Yes.
And the PNM used race and division. And in the end, he had to flee. He was exiled to England, and he knew to himself that his skin color limited him. So that even though he may have been a natural choice for, you know, to become prime minister and whatnot, because of the amount of groundwork that he would have done, but he knew that he simply couldn't take it any further because of his skin color. Right? And that's sad. And as I said, I mean, you go through any social studies book, Corky, and it seems as though he's just been erased from our nation's history. Which, of course, I spoke about last week, you know, how that angers me, because dictatorship does not happen overnight. It is well planned, and it happens over decades. And more and more and more, we are seeing where PNM has played from the dictator's handbook in rewriting history, in taking the truth, you know, changing. If you say something enough times, it becomes the truth. You know, people accept it as truth if you spew a lie enough. And so from even then, you saw that the PNM's playbook included divide and conquer, right? It included spewing a race narrative, right? And so someone died in West Moorings, and a paid PNM activist goes onto social media and makes a joke about, you know, the hot spot, right? And then you see now a back and forth. And it's really unfortunate, because part of my campaign, in my manifesto and everything, I had recognized that Diego Martin was a special place in terms of, and I mean, and that's something you see obviously in the length and breadth of Trinidad. But we have very rich in Diego Martin and very poor in Diego Martin. So we have, you know, what, and of course we've dubbed it now the 1%, which is fairly derogatory when you think about it. And I mean, all of these different terms we should cease to use. But, you know, but they do own 1%, and we know that that's where that, you know, well, it came about, just at least in Trinidad and Tobago. But you have those who own a lot of businesses in Trinidad, and then you have those who own nothing. So they have and they have nots. And what is forming on social media, and this is what I'm urging the citizens by and large, because this is not limited to Diego Martin West, but obviously I speak a lot to my constituents, and I call them my constituents, right? But I speak to my constituents because what we don't want is hate to continue to reign in our country. And we have a government and a political party that has prospered by dividing us. So there's always a race rhetoric. There is always, whether it be the recalcitrant minority, or now it's making fun of a hotspot and you put a TH and stuff like that. And then, of course, you have now, so there's a narrative between pests and cockroaches and demons and monsters, and so there's a divide that's being pushed, right? And as I said, part of my manifesto, Corky, was bridging the gap.
Yeah.
And I thought that I would be able to, one, I think that having a mixture of race inside of me would be able to say, well, hey, look, the curls on one side, the straight hair on one side, the brown or whatever, that mixture. And that is the beauty of Trinidad, if we could find that beauty, that there is mixture, that there is diversity, right? I also thought that, using the fact that, one, I had a significant upbringing through Big Yard, which would be called a hotspot, right? I always say KFC and Courts did not deliver, and that's a stereotype, and there were security issues and whatnot, and we cannot run from the economic conditions of Big Yard. But I then went to school in St. Joseph's Convent, so I was exposed to a different lifestyle. So how could we bridge the gap? Because I went into St. Joseph's Convent with certain stereotypes. I watched mothers, and they all looked as if they were housewives or did nothing all day or did their hair or whatever. And you have a certain mentality. When you are able to understand their lifestyle, then it brings a certain respect for the fact that I did not understand them. So being able to go into their homes, see how they live, be able to be really welcomed by them, and by a lot of them, some aren't, and that's the whole thing, right? I mean, you have bad and good in any community, but being able to walk both sides, I'm able to see both sides. And similarly, when you take, and I'm going to use West Moorings and Big Yard, because that's, the two that, that I know, right? The names or whatever. Similarly, if we can take big businessmen and quote-unquote housewives, because I've come to realize a lot of them work from home. They earn income from home. So I use the term housewife all the time with myself. But I earn an income flexibly around my family. So I may walk around dressed in a dress or whatnot, not in a suit looking like I am working, because I've been taught a different way of earning an income. I've been taught how to balance being able to be there for my children, pick them up, drop them off, sit and wait in the car, etc., and still earn an income, right? So if you don't know, you may look, okay, so now I'm a public figure, so people know, obviously, that it's not just a matter of being a housewife. But had you not had an insight into my life, you would have watched me and judged. You know how many people, because I have what would be called a convent accent, or I have, a certain look or whatnot, you know how many people judge that I grew up rich or whatnot, not understanding. I mean, Corky, you heard yesterday about just a little bit about some of the things that I grew up, you know.
Yeah.
So life wasn't, you know, a bunch of roses, a bed of roses. But there is a stereotype that we do, and it does not lend to a spirit of inclusion and whatnot, right? So for me, I dreamt of a program, sort of like a big buddy, a big brother program, or even like, you know, exchange students, what we see around the world, where, you know, travel is such a great educator, learning different cultures, learning how other countries do things. And even within Trinidad and Tobago, there is internal travel per se, I use that in quotation marks, that can happen because we are really a rainbow people. So there are a lot of cultures, and that lends itself to a lot of misunderstanding, a lot of stereotyping, you know. And if we can find a way where the haves can begin to understand what the have-nots go through on a daily basis, then maybe they will soften their hearts and not think that the have-nots don't have because they don't get up and get.
Yeah.
That perception has to change.
Yes.
Right? And I asked that question on social media, and I mean, I don't know, I hope that we can be mature enough as a people to have dialogue and respectful dialogue. And I know, again, I do. I mean, and I hate to play victim and blame. So there's a balance as well in terms of appreciating what has caused it. And yes, we have to break the cycle. Right? But the PNM has raised us up, and this arrogant prime minister that we have. You know, we talk about Trump, and Trump brought racism and he fueled it and whatnot. And Keith Christopher Rowley fuels hate. He fuels arrogance. And the PNM fuels racism because they know that to conquer they must divide. Right? And so it is in their best interest to have white people seen as some sort of group that should be hated upon. And now we're seeing the other group calling our young men who have gone astray cockroaches and pests and demons. And this is not to say that I condone the actions of young men that have gone astray. I absolutely do not condone it. Nor do I condone them getting off easily or anything like that. I mean, let me tell you something. If a young man chooses to come into my yard and I have a firearm, I shoot in at will. Because that's a choice that you've made. But the problem isn't going to be solved by them not viewing the value of my life and me not viewing the value of their life. Because whether we like it or not, both sides are guilty of not viewing the value of the other person's life. That's the bottom line. And it stems from a lack of understanding. So we as a society, and the political leaders spoke about that today, and that's why I said there is so much to talk about when it comes to this issue of crime. And specifically why I want to speak about the West Moorings murder is because of the division that you are seeing on social media. So yes, people are upset because all of a sudden crime is a problem. Because why? It's killed a certain level of society. So I could understand that frustration. I could understand that pain. Right? Because there was a 14-year-old young man who died. Right? And there should be an equal amount of outrage. When innocent, and not just a 14-year-old, because then you will say, okay, that's young person. But there was a elderly gentleman who died in that same incident. Right? But we somehow think that, well, it's the outrage. Is it that we become numb because those killings happen a little bit more in certain areas? At the end of the day, life is lost. And outrage should happen and ought to happen all the time, throughout, every day, when someone loses their life, whether it be in South, in North, in somewhere that isn't economically prosperous, in a neighborhood that is economically prosperous, there must be outrage. But there must be outrage by every facet of society, right? And more than the outrage, we must understand why, or seek to understand, right? And I think that's the issue. So there is a frustration, definitely. I know I feel frustrated that, okay, so now that crime has reached your doorstep, now are you going to help us? And that is in itself a wrong mentality, right? Because we fail to understand that innocent lives are being lost in the less prosperous and less developed communities. So we cannot wait until it reaches our doorsteps. That in itself is not humanity. That in itself is selfish. So if we choose to really be good human beings, then we must fight injustice everywhere. We must be enraged everywhere and for everyone. We cannot pick and choose which crimes make us mad. Because let's get real. People talk about, well, these young men think they could come and take what is theirs. Or there's a they want to get rich without working. How many businessmen are involved in money laundering and they live within these same communities? Do you shun them? Do you say we don't want you in our community? Or do you very well know, them get rich too fast and something not up with that, but you still skin and grin with them? And these are the hard conversations, and Corky, that's why sometimes I wonder if I'm a politician or not.
Yeah.
Because I can't tell lies just to get votes. I can't do that.
Right.
But we have to sit as a people and do introspection.
Yes.
And say, so they're tiffin worse than my tiffin? Because we could sit and we could justify, and the system is broken. I am not pretending that the system isn't broken. But the same way the system is broken for the white collar crime, the system is broken for the other color crime. So when you don't pay taxes because the system is broken, or when you pass a bribe because the ease of doing business, the bureaucracy and the inefficiency of the system forces businessmen to do things that are not above board, and we don't consider them criminals because it's not like they're thieving billions of dollars and they're not involved in even people who are not involved in money laundering and drugs and stuff. But we've somehow justified in our head that to get a passport appointment or to get whatever, you skip the line, or you know that the ease of doing business is really so bad that to get the construction permit or to get the TNTEC to pass, to get whatever license you need, you do what you need to do and you justify yourself. You justify it to yourself because you know that the system almost forces you to do it. Otherwise, nobody will get business done in Trinidad and Tobago because the system is broken.
Yes.
So businessmen convince themselves that this is the norm. This is the way to get business done in Trinidad and Tobago. And I'm not a bad person. I'm not in money laundering. I'm not funding guns. I'm not, running women. All I am doing is doing business the way business is done in Trinidad and Tobago because the ease of doing business It's broken. The system is broken. So why do we have patience and tolerance and understanding for the businesses who do what Trinis do? Who find ways around a broken system? Is it that we don't understand? And that is what I genuinely believe. That we cannot understand how broken the system is for certain portions of society. And until you could understand that, then I had to say, hush him out. Right? But there is no justification for calling a human being a cockroach, a demon, a monster, a pest. There is no justification. There's none. Right? Because if you ask me, the real cockroach, pest, demon are our government ministers. Because when they are corrupt, they take money out of our pockets. That's the truth. They take. Or when big businessmen, who they take. Because instead of one Benz, you need 10. Or instead of driving a decent brand new car, you need something else. So how is it any different? How is it any different? And I'm saying that both sides need to look in the mirror, and we need to find a way to bridge the gap. Our country will not heal until we bridge the gap between the haves and the have-nots. We must say, help me understand what you have gone through. And the next side must say, help me understand. We must understand what privileges we have as well. Do not try to pretend that living in a certain area, even being black in a well-off area, is a privilege. I remember when my little brother was doing, I don't know if it was SEA or Common Entrance at the time, but when he was doing whatever that was, we had already moved from Schneider Gardens, and our address was officially Big Yard. And my mother asked our neighbor in Schneider Gardens if she could use her address. Because whether you like it or not, when you put certain types of addresses on a resume or on a bank loan or a whatever, it's looked at differently. So do not pretend that you do not have a privilege when you write a certain address on a bank application form or on an employee application form. You have got to admit that there is a privilege. You have got to admit that. Similarly, on the other side, do not ignore the fact that there are people who have gotten out, who have made it out, who have successfully lived a life free of crime, and they are doing well. So there must be understanding on both sides. Both sides of the river have crime. Both sides of the river have intolerance. So we have got to find a way to put a bridge and cross onto each other's side and understand each person and what they go through. Corky, we have got to start to ask a little boy in a mother's arms who suckles on a mother's breast, Corky, and I mean they're happy and they're chirpy and they're cherry.
Yeah.
How does that little boy, Corky, grow up to become somebody who can watch another human being and shoot at will?
Wow.
That little boy is not born with that DNA. They're not born with that.
Yes.
You know, they're not born with a gun in their hand willing to shoot somebody at will. Society has created them. And that is why we must all put our hands up and say we have failed. There are so many reasons we have failed. One, We have failed because politics matters. So when you stay home and you vote, 28% of Trinidad and Tobago voted for Keith Christopher Rowley. Understand that. 28% of Trinidad and Tobago voted for this PNM government. They are not in power because 70% or 80% or 90% came out and voted for them. So when you stay home and you think politics does not matter, you are to blame. You are at fault. You are at fault, and you have added to failing these young men.
Yes.
When you turn a blind eye to PNM propaganda, you are at fault. You are to blame. You are to blame. Because the truth is available. It is there. Dig deep. Go and Google Albert Gomes for yourself. ALBERTGOMES. Go Google it. The truth is there. The truth is there. And yes, there will be 28% who born and bred PNM and they can't get them to change. One, change is not impossible. We have to find a way to help them understand. And it's the same thing I said last week. Hating on people will not help anyone change. It won't, it won't, it won't. And we have to balance, you know, and that's why I always use Mia Motley, right? And that's why I guess I like female leaders, obviously. Because there's that motherly, and I mean the dads. Dads are like that as well. I know a lot of dads like that. You know, you love hard. It doesn't mean you don't get your buff. Right? So there has to be that balance. Because I certainly don't appreciate citizens that hide their heads in the sand and say, you know, just think positive, Trinidad is a paradise. Like, I'm all for positive thinking. I'm all for finding the strengths and the opportunities and thinking positive and not focusing only on negatives. I'm all for that. But there has to be a point at which we face it, because I say we cannot fix that which we do not face. Right? Make sure you know when it go down in history is Marsha Walker say that, right? We cannot fix that which we do not face. So there are some things that we must face. We must face the fact that there is a level of political apathy in our country where people do not, you know, stay woke, wake up, stand up, whatever. But you have got to become politically educated. You've got to come out and vote.
Yes.
And don't just come out and vote for voting's sake. That's what PNM does do. You know, well, it's my civic responsibility. I dip my finger. No. Because with rights come responsibility. And your responsibility is to ensure that when you vote from an educated, intellectual, informed place. That is how you vote. You vote with fairness. You don't vote based on race. You vote based on policy. Don't vote based on propaganda. That's how you vote.
Yes.
Right? And so when you have 60% of the population not coming out to vote, those 60% must understand that the failure started with them. Because politics matters. We have to go on a break. When we come back, I will continue to show how politics matter.
Yeah.
Don't go anywhere. It's Marsha Walker, Fire Fridays.
Yes.
Fresh Street Market, your neighborhood supermarket.
Number 3, Andrew Lane, corner Churchill Roosevelt Highway and Andrew Lane, Derby, Mausica.
Opening hours.
Saturday, 7:30 a.m. to 7:30 p.m.
Sundays, 8 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. When you think about fresh produce and good quality food, come to Fresh Street Market, your neighborhood supermarket.
Number 3, Andrew Lane, corner Churchill Roosevelt Highway and Andrew Lane, Derby, Mausica.
New 97.5. Make it your choice. Something for everyone. 97.5 FM. Music for you. It's all about you.
New 97.5 FM. FM Hot Like Pepper, multicultural radio.
Power to the listeners.
The 2022 Chutney Soca Monarch. 15 of the top Chutney Soca artists in the world. 5 for the 2 biggest titles in Chutney Soca. Will G.I. retain his crown? Will Nisha reign in 2022 as a Queen of Chutney Soca? Special opening performance by the world's greatest Chutney Soca artist, Ravi B, and his full band, Karma, featuring Nisha B and Abishai and the Kalnayak Dance Academy. Hosted by our very own non-news anchor, Kenneth Supersad, and Big Rich Dipungalums. All artists backed up by Wizzy and Avatar. Saturday, 26th February. We feature one of the biggest productions in Trinidad and Tobago's Taste of Carnival. Limited tickets are available. All public health protocols will be observed and all patrons must show proof of vaccination. Call us at 653-2908. WhatsApp your ticket reservations to 789-3874 or send us an email at southexevents@gmail.com. The 2022 Chutney Soca Monarch is sponsored by TSTT, Extra Foods, Stand Steel, Tropicus Beach Resort, U97, TTT, Whiteo, Magnum, and the Ministry of Tourism, Culture and the Arts.
Island Hobbies, Ryson Road, Port of Spain, has the largest variety of toys in the Caribbean and South America. No one can beat our prices. If you see it cheaper anywhere else, prove it and we will beat it. Island Hobbies, Ryson Road, Port of Spain.
What goes in is a local something that makes it all taste better. It's the flavor of our culture. Come from here, come from there, and everywhere. It's the special flavor that's made us savor at the Royal Castle. Welcome the Royal Castle. Royal Castle. Flavor to the bone. Royal Castle. Taste the very own. Royal Castle is the local something that makes it all taste better. Taste the unique flavor of our culture at Royal Castle.
Le Grand Coulon Spa Resort at Stonehaven Bay, Blackrock. Bed and breakfast rates available. To book, call 283-2597 or 463-2946. Le Grand Coulon Spa Resort at Stonehaven Bay, Blackrock.
Boardroom Lounge and Nightclub presents Fantastic Friday. This Carnival Friday, 25th February. Entertainment by Malik, Iowa George, and Nisha B. Admission is free from 7 p.m. till Feb all night. This Carnival Friday at Boardroom Lounge and Nightclub, SS Erin Road, Davie. Come to the Waves Restaurant and Bar, Grafton Beach, Blackrock, Tobago. Great ambience, fantastic prices, all COVID protocols observed. Full premium bar available. Call Waves at 731-4646 to make your reservation. Come dine with the Waves Restaurant and Bar, Grafton Beach, Blackrock, Tobago. You must be vaccinated to dine in.
Eddie's Pharmacy Limited, we have a selection of all pharmaceutical products and over-the-counter drugs to complement your wellness. Every product we carry is vetted and approved by our pharmacists who will be happy to assist you. With branches at C3 Mall inside JTA Supermarket, 1135 SS Erin Road in Pinal, and 54 Rocha Douglas Road in Barrackpore. We offer services such as blood pressure testing, blood sugar testing, cholesterol testing, and also offer a wide variety of pregnancy test kits. We accept most major health insurances. For further information, contact Eddie's Pharmacy at any of our 3 branches. C3 Mall, contact number 228-4990, 54 Rocha Douglas Road in Barrackpore at 654-2655. Or SS Erin Road in Pinal, 647-0778, Eddie's Pharmacy Limited.
This Carnival weekend, U975 FM, the official radio station for CSM 2022, brings to you the live broadcast of the finals. 15 artists will be vying for the crown, King and Queen of Chutney Soca. Special performances by Ravi B, Nisha B, and Karma.
Go back by your mother if you want me over.
Alongside the Kal Nayak Dance Academy, hosted by Ken Superstar and yours truly, Big Rich. So tune in Saturday, 26th February at 8 p.m. for the live broadcast of CSM 2022, sponsored by Stag, A Man's Bear, Trinidad Salt Company Limited, Gable X, Magna Rewards, Sopolio, Wheel Wizard,
Streak Hair Color, Venture Credit Union,
and Village Ram Energy Drink. U975 FM, the official radio station for CSM 2022.
DJ run it again.
Rockin' Sanctuary Bar of 112 Kakandi Road, Felicity presents Rockin' Saturday. This Saturday, Carnival Saturday, February 26, featuring DJ Dynamic Live. Admission absolutely free. Lots of drink special. It's a safe zone. Have your proof of vaccination. All protocols observed. Rockin' Saturday. This Saturday, Rockin' Sanctuary Bar, 112 Kakandi Road, Felicity. Tell a friend, come on down.
Tell them I turn up the fete till it turn over.
U975 Hot Like Pepper Multicultural Radio and Multicultural Television MCTV, bringing you back where you belong. Part of the Rhythms Communications Network. To advertise with us, call 218-7820.
Fire Friday!
Friday, mash up the place. Friday, in front of the face. Friday, red, white, and black. Friday, I'm back.
Thank God it is Friday. Y'all, I hate to buffle it. It does sound like Rowdy, you know, Rowdy's come every Saturday to buff, yeah? So I really hope it's more like a Mia Motley type buff that I'm buffing. Anyways, let me continue. Politics. Well, the thing about it is, I don't like to generalize, right? So, for instance, a lot of people say, well, you know, all politicians are the same, and that's not true. There are good politicians, and that is the issue. What we need to do is dig past all the labels, all the propaganda, all the everything. So, for instance, imagine, and you know, I did a video, and I'll explain it, right?
Yes.
This Get Gary campaign that they like to do. So they talk about the FULs, you know, the firearm licenses. And oh, Gary give us that and give too much, and they're so proud that, you know, that's under investigation. But the truth is, what we don't see in the newspaper ever is that a legal firearm was used in any crime.
Yeah.
So it is just rubbish. And that is where PNM, I see the phone ringing, and I know I didn't take any calls last time.
Oh.
Corky, which one is mine? Which one is
Yes.
mine there? This one is mine?
Yes, that one is yours.
All right.
Are you hearing? All right, go ahead.
Yeah. Good evening, you're live with Marsha Walker.
Good evening, Marsha!
Is that an echo?
Yeah, this is
his new
Asakura.
thing. Do you not know Asakura by now?
Oh, echo. Oh.
Yeah. So good evening, Marsha. Good evening, Koki, and the rest of the studio.
Hello,
First of all,
Asakura.
yes, I was watching you live on YouTube, and I see Beanie break your checking out your nice curly hair. So online, you know, you look
I
at
was
that on
checking
TV,
out
so-
my curly hair. Where I was checking it out?
Well, I was seeing in the mirror. I was just making sure it looks fluffy and nice. And,
I have no mirror.
That was at the beginning.
Okay, all right, yeah. So, but otherwise you look good. So don't worry,
Well,
don't worry about
thank
it, right?
you.
Right. So back to this on the regarding the topic of discussion. 2 points. Point number one, you mentioned earlier that the Prime Minister is a man who, he, in order to conquer, he has to divide, and he promotes this kind of anger and bitterness and submission into the population. Hence why we have the behavior we see currently with regards to the crime situation and so on.
Yeah.
So the reason why these things happen is because it happens at the top. The behavior that we see in schools, in the public service, on the streets, our neighbors and everybody in Trinidad, it happens at below, is because this kind of behavior happens at the top. So if we have a Prime Minister calling women cat geometry and all these nasty words,
Yeah.
Then on the streets, the Prime Minister will say so. And a classic example is the word donkey in quotation marks. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, I know what you're talking about.
And everybody went on a whole tangent. The whole country was saying the so-called donkey, right?
Yeah.
So the reason why we speak this is because it happens at the top.
Yeah.
So if we have a government that breaks the law or tramples upon the Constitution, then what do you think will happen?
What do you leave for the rest of
in
citizens?
the school,
Yeah.
the rest of the citizens, the population, and so on? If corruption, bigwin, and bribery and so on goes on at the top, it must happen below.
Agreed.
So, like you've been preaching this entire program, it starts with the politics.
Yeah.
It starts with those who are in charge, starts with those who are in government.
Yeah.
And it reinforces the point that you're making. The reason why we have this behavior among citizens in the population is because it happens at the top. And rest assured, it's the PNM. It's the PNM and Dr. Rowley.
Yes.
Point number 2, regarding the upsurge in crime, other than DCP Jacob showing off and saying, no, that's not a big thing, it's probably gang related, right? I blame the president for this. Because Mrs. Prasad Bishop was right. This government has declared war on the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. Now, the Paula Weeks doesn't qualify as the government, right? She's the head of state, right? But regarding that whole bacchanal with the Police Service Commission and thwarting the meritless and not doing what she was enshrined constitutionally to do according to Section 123, Paragraph 4, to send that list to Parliament, where Gary Griffith was top with it, and everybody know that. She basically alert the entire population and say, well, here what's going on. Gary's a civilian, it has a police commissioner, criminals going to do what they want. So, and if today is what, the 9th of, today the 24th of February, and we still don't have an acting police commissioner, or a police commissioner,
but we have an acting.
Go ahead.
We have an acting.
Well, that's what they say, right? But if we don't have a commissioner of police, the entire criminal element is going to say, hey, here we going on. We're going to do what we want. Happy days.
Right.
So again, I blame the president for this. The president has declared war on Trinidad and Tobago.
Right.
Right? And and again, I hope the president take this into consideration when the next meritless comes to her doorstep, and not like Rowley K-Pax, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah? Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, well, I mean, at the end of the day, and that is what, it's where we were going with the Get Gary campaign, right? Oh, okay. Yeah. Good night, you're alive.
Hi, good night, Masha.
Hello.
Good night, Kokidi. Good night to the listeners. Masha, is very disturbing and heartbreaking to see that a majority in modern times is taking and pouncing on a minority. That is very heartbreaking and disturbing to see what is going on. You can't take away people's independence, their sovereignty, and their democracy. That is very damaging to the future of freedom, rights, emancipation, and love. I thank you. Have a good night.
You too. Good night. Actually, as this caller mentioned, taking away rights, I want to just inform our listening viewers and our supporters that the march that the Women's Arm was having tomorrow has been postponed because, of course, our TTPS and our government, through the arm of the TTPS, because that's what it is, the government's doing it, using the TTPS and using Jacob to do it, has not granted permission to our Women's Arm. So hear the nonsense, Cookie.
Yeah.
Hear the letter. The letter say that because of Carnival, they will need to make sure they have enough resources, right? In anticipation for Carnival. I have some questions. The march happening tomorrow at like 7 o'clock in the morning was supposed to happen, right?
Yeah.
You telling me by now, Jacob don't know what going on in Dibé with regards to penal. He don't have his officers already assigned, etc. He can't plan this properly. So, I mean, we're not even having a big carnival. So I don't even understand what carnival we're supposed to be having in Dibé Market tomorrow that will really give a proper reason for denying the opportunity to speak out tomorrow. Very upsetting to me. And that's the whole thing. It's always some smoke screen, some lie, something, because you cannot tell me that carnival activity is the reason you cannot allow us to march tomorrow. Well, let me tell you, eh? Anyway, what we should have done was tell him we having a carnival street parade or something, because it wasn't it that street parade's not even allowed, so I'm confused as to how our march even impacts any of it. You know, it's such a stupid, lame, ridiculous excuse as to why he has not granted permission. But what the bottom line is that once again, they are using everything that they can to stop our voices. Our right to protest is a constitutional right. That is our constitutional right, and they are using everything that they can. And let me tell you, we will take that up in court. We will go where we have to go, you know. Because it is our constitutional right. Women are dying left, right, and center. Crime is out of control. We want to have a peaceful demonstration tomorrow. And the Commissioner of Police, or the Acting Commissioner of Police, is telling us no in anticipation of carnival activity. That is nonsense. That is absolute nonsense. And that is why I say politics impacts us all. Politics impacts us all. Because the Prime Minister lost confidence in Gary Griffith, all kind of bacchanal had to happen so that he could have his way. Because as the late Patrick Manning say, he's become a raging bull if he don't get his way. He's a bully if he doesn't get his way. So because of this Get Gary smear campaign, we now have a situation where law-abiding citizens cannot access licensed firearms. Because apparently, is legal firearms causing the problem, Corky? Because we stupid, ain't? We stupid, we had to be stupid. It is beyond me how PNM spews these ridiculous, blatant lies. And we fall for it. And 28% of the population. But the thing about it is, and that's why I said to somebody this week on Facebook, people, and I mean, are going somewhere else. This is not where I wanted to go. But, you know, we like to talk about PNM as a Christian party, and plenty of people like to tell me, oh, how I go be a Christian and support a Hindu party, and all kind of rubbish. And again, that is a PNM narrative that is put into your brain and brainwash you. So, you know, you can't be Christian and support a Hindu group. That is a Hindu group. Could you ever look at the diversity in the UNC? It is beyond me. It is beyond me. The kind of stupid, rubbish, filthy narrative that comes out of PNM. It's absolute garbage. Right? So when you talk about, oh, PNM is a Christian group, first to begin, oh, this voice yesterday in the savannah, oh, they're so Christian. I didn't want to hear nobody talk about COVID after that scene in the savannah yesterday. In the so-called, I didn't understand what we spend money on pods for, because it was everybody, 1,001 people jam up on each other, spreading COVID all over the place. But the same Christians who want to come and tell me and question my salvation and my Christianity because I could run for a Hindu party, it is because of your so-called Christian party that you guys cannot worship free and fair right now, have limitations on the way you worship, but carnival activity going on, and have nothing with culture, absolutely nothing with culture, but there's revelry going on. They spend a set of money on pods that really and truly, let me ask the question, how much money they spend on them pods? Who pocket get full? Because that had nothing to do with upkeeping our culture. That money had nothing to do with upkeeping our culture. Somebody needed a trip to wherever they needed. Somebody needed another Benz. Corruption money needed to flow. And that is what PNM is about. The real thieves of this country is the PNM government. Because the money, the oil boom money, instead of saving for a rainy day, thank God for UNC, Rowley have money to dip into now. But the kind of money that passed through Trinidad and Tobago, how many years PNM had it? 30 uninterrupted years with oil booms, with oil money. The gem of the Caribbean, 30 uninterrupted years. Yeah. And we ain't had no savings. Why? Because it's always trying to fill somebody's pocket. If it wasn't O'Halloran, it's called the Heart. It's always some scandal. Always some scandal. Always some alleged corruption. So we spend a set of money on pods. But you could see all over the radio and the news. Well, you can't see on the radio, but you could see all over Facebook, everywhere, that it was a super spreader in the savannah last night. I have a call. Take the call. Yeah. Good night. You're live with Marsha Walker.
Yes, good night.
Good night.
Hello, good night.
Good night.
Radio too loud.
Your radio is too loud. I'll have to cut you off.
And I want the entire nation to hear this. 2 years ago, a woman and her son who used to attend Miracle Ministries under Pastor Coffee, and the son used to attend the school where Pastor Clive Dutton was the principal.
Okay, I wouldn't be able to take something like, I would not be able to take a call like that. It would have to be substantiated and we have proof and all of that. So you'd have to find another way to send this information to us. I wouldn't be able to allow such a conversation on the air, okay? Thanks, caller. I hope you could respect that.
Yes.
Sorry, guys, but I mean, we offer truth, and I'm not saying that what a caller would come and say is not true or whatnot, but unless the information can be verified, you know, we'd have to discuss it off the air or whatever.
Too, when we discuss things about church and people religion, it causes problems.
Yeah, but we want to make sure that, that everything is free and fair and whatnot, right?
You're talking about Mr. Rowley and the PNM government. Yeah.
Good night. You are live on air with Marsha Walker.
Alright, we lost that. Talking about Rowley.
Yes. So, guys, sometimes I forget to open the phone calls and stuff, right? But you guys are welcome to call and interrupt me 1,000 times. 218-7762, right? So it's 218-7762. Good night. You are live with Marsha Walker.
Good night. Good night, Marsha.
Hello.
Yeah, good night.
How are you?
I'm not bad. I'm just from Trin City, Marsha.
Hello, Trin City. How are you?
Not bad.
How is Trin City going?
You, don't buy PNM bread. Buy UNC bread.
UNC bread stays better. It's healthier.
I mean, they have plenty nutrition in UNC
yes.
bread. All it has is Balizians making PNM bread.
Oh, my.
And this raging bull. I hear last week sometimes they talk about we Prime Minister. We do have a Prime Minister. We Prime Minister was Kamala. We won't get she back as Prime Minister.
We will.
We have to get rid of these people. All of them are no good.
Yes.
Yes, so you talk about good and bad. Well, none of them are good. All bad.
No, man. I sure I could find some good ones in the PNM, but we had to bring them across because we win one with PNM again.
Wait. I don't know. That's not as far as I know. All of them unstupid. All of them corrupted. Everybody from captain to crook. Let me tell you something. The ship's sinking.
It is. It really is.
I'm telling you, it's sinking, girl, and it's real pressure, man, for people, man. And then realize it's a lawless country. Look how the lady had to go and lose she like yesterday, quite down in the Westmoreland. If somebody rob you and you go in the station, they ain't doing nothing. They ain't going because you're dealing with a set of bandits too. They had a good commissioner, Gary Griffith. They find a role. He can't get your own thing done.
Exactly.
So when you do that now, you have to get people who work. So when you say jump, they go ask how high.
Yeah.
You understand that why they get rid of him because he was too serious.
Yeah, because he was fair, so you know he couldn't be bought off and paid off, and he wasn't prepared to just take orders.
Yes. So I called you and said, look, girl, you had to take too long to wait to see you on Friday. So try and make it twice for the week, please, man.
No problem.
So have a good night.
You as well.
I want to tell you.
What is
I want to tell you one more thing. We should have never get independence. English people might have run here better.
Oh gosh, oh gosh, oh
I
gosh.
tell you that the women running.
Well, that's why we have to. That's why we have to come out. We have to demand we want a snap election, boy. As you know, the political leader said today, she had such an awesome press conference today. It was really a very short and sweet. And you know, she said in the end, just get a fresh mandate. If you think you still have the majority support, play man, be man, call election, get a fresh mandate, and come back again.
Yes, and this girl had a good talk to this thing girl. She's a real nice girl. She talking good too.
Who is that?
She's talking Anita Ian.
Oh yes, she had a good motion in Parliament today.
Bandana talk to and she talk real good too.
Well, listen, UNC's bring some powerhouse women for you know.
Yeah,
but you see, that's we follow our leader.
Yeah, but the Speaker of the House not giving UNC a chance.
No, no.
Because it's a bias thing going on.
Well, they have to try to silence our democracy, and that's what people need to see. People need to see that over the years, PNM has not been, they have not matured our democracy in any which way.
Yeah, but I want to tell you something there now go on. That region we're going to head to health direct. It's a direct fight to health for him, hellfire for him.
Oh, Lord, see.
So we go talk. I tell you that. Have a good night, darling.
Good night.
We're going to talk next week.
You too. Have a good week. Bye-bye.
Right.
Yes, listen. So we're talking about Gary Griffith. Oh, I think I have another call. Okay. So we're talking about Gary Griffith and the Smear Gary Griffith campaign, right? That was on. And because of that, you're now seeing a situation where law-abiding citizens cannot get licenses. So that is just one example of where politics impacts the lives of people. Coming out of the same nonsense Jacob mouth, he want to talk about Bail Act. I want to clear up some things with the Bail Act, right? UNC, and they like to come with nonsense about UNC. So UNC allowing bail for murderers, and UNC don't want to support the Bail Act. The solution to crime is not to lock up somebody for 6 months, for 6 years, for 12 years, before you could even give them an opportunity to prove their innocence. So when people talk about what's the difference between PNM and UNC, let me tell you what's the difference. And I'm speaking to PNM supporters now, right? The PNM only know how to beat you into good behavior. That's the only way they know about leadership, because they think they're the new massa. The only way we could solve crime is to beat you into good behavior, is to lock up everybody, whether you're innocent or not, lock you up without a trial. And that's the PNM way. The UNC is able to bring balance because, as I said, that's the mature parenting way. That's the way of moving away from a plantation. That is moving away from leading like massa. So yes, we must instill discipline, but we must allow our children to speak and we must allow them to blossom. So that is the difference. So it is not that UNC is against fighting crime. UNC allowed, they voted the Bail Act. They gave you 120 days. 120 days means that anybody could just be locked up, waiting on a trial with no bail, with no opportunity to even apply for bail. That can't be right. We see situations where people in jail for 10, 15 years, and when they're done, they're innocent. Who giving them back that time? What the UNC is saying is that the judiciary must be well resourced, the DPP's office must be well resourced, and you must get your act together. 120 days is enough. So when people ask about the guys that shot the lady in West Moorings, and they talk about, well, they were out on bail, and is UNC caused them to be out on bail, but they refuse to support the Bail Act. Well, I have some questions for y'all. Where was the TTPS? Did the TTPS show up to court to bring evidence, to show the magistrate that, listen, this person does not deserve bail? Because the state can appeal bail. The state can come and put a case before a judge and say, this is why we believe this person should not have bail. So the question is, why is it that Faris cannot get his act together and ensure that the state do their work? I am told Faris don't ever come to court. He just send everybody else. How many of us know that you reach the court and the police officer ain't show up? The police officer ain't show up. The police officer ain't show up. The police officer ain't show up. So it's adjourn. These are the issues, and that is why UNC will not give you more than 120 days, because 120 days ought to be enough time for you to get your evidence together, get your police officers to come to court, get your police officers to bring the evidence. I mean, how it is somebody could be unknown. I talking to some people, you know, because we all grew up in the same areas. So it's not a matter of, well, I in crime, but I could know the people, right? How it is everybody does know who the criminals are on the street. But you telling me you have 120 days to come to the judge and say, this is why the person shouldn't have bail. And you can't do that? Everybody else in the street could prove that them is criminal, but you cannot prove that they are criminals. You cannot even stand up and explain to the judge, this is why they should not be on bail. Not, this is why they should go in jail because there's a criminal, you know. But simply explain to the judge, Judge, this is what we believe, this is the case, and this is why we believe that this person should not be out on bail. Faris can't even win that case. Only think if it was Anand Ram Logan, he wouldn't have been able to make sure that the criminals stay inside. The answer